Okay. So, what's our show called? Welcome to All Doubt. I'm Vincent.
And I'm Joel.
And, today we'll be talking about, the Neil Cicierega album, Outsounds.
I'm so glad that you said his name, because I was afraid of that. About me having to say it.
But that's later on. But first, Joel, how have you been?
Oh, good. Thank you. I was, because I know you and I want to talk about, like what's new at the start of every episode. Whenever I think about, I get just a little bit of a panic when I think about what's new with me. I'm like, I don't know what I've been watching, what I've been doing. But Elizabeth reminded me, my girlfriend, that we've been watching films by Baz Luhrmann.
Oh, yeah?
We watched Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, Romeo plus Juliet.
Oh, is that...
Is that the one with DiCaprio?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Do you actually say it, plus?
I think, that's to differentiate it from all the other more normal Romeo and Juliets.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I mean, that's totally in line with the weird, avant-garde kind of stuff that's going on in that movie. Yeah, that was actually great. But we watched that and, Moulin Rouge, which I've never actually seen before.
That's I've got that on my list.
Oh, nice.
I think I watched the first 10 minutes of it and then had to do something else and sort of fell off of it.
It's so good. Yeah, I watched it in 2 parts, and when we came back to it the next day, we rewound a lot of it and rewatched a lot of it just because it's so much fun. He also did that other show, the Get Down on Netflix, which was recently.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. What was that one about?
It was about African American youths in I think I'm gonna mess up the town. Boston, New York. I think it's New York. But Moulin Rouge was fantastic. Romeo plus Juliet was also fantastic. The direction style, it reminded me of seeing a play. I thought that Moulin Rouge, why can't I remember that name? I thought that was originally a play, and I think the only reason I thought that was because of the direction style. He makes it look like it's a musical and that it's an adaptation to a screenplay, but apparently it was just written for that. It was a movie first.
And it's sort of silly, right? Yeah. Because I remember when I was watching the first 10 minutes of it or whatever, I was surprised at how goofy it was. I thought it was more of a Les Mis kind of serious thing. That was, I guess, what was sort of making me a bit hesitant to watch it. But then I was this is goofy. Yeah. And then I had to go do something else after 10 minutes. Yeah. But with Romeo plus Juliet, I think I remember watching a bit of it on TV or something years and years ago, and I didn't really watch it. I didn't really sit down and watch it properly until I had to watch it for a class. That was an English class about text and performance. Oh yeah. So we looked at a lot of plays, plays as a script, and plays that were performed, and the difference between that. And in that class, we actually watched 3 different versions of Romeo and Juliet, none of which were the normal. I think it was 3 plus regular standard Romeo and Juliet. It was Romeo plus Juliet, the film you were talking about. It was I think it was called Good Night Desdemona, Good Morning Juliet, which is a mashup of a bunch of Shakespeare stuff. And we consume that as a book, as a script. Yeah. You ate the script. You consumed it. Yeah, we bite by bite. But, but I think the premise is there's this lady who's this scholar who's studying or writing a thing about Juliet and Desdemona from Othello, I believe. I'm going to say. I don't know. We're Englishmen. We're supposed to know this. I know. We could just look it up, but then I guess we won't. We absolutely could. Desdemona? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Othello. I'm gonna proceed as if it was Othello.
Sure.
And then she falls asleep on her manuscript or something, and then wakes up in this weird mashup land of of Othello and Romeo and Juliet.
Oh.
And she
yes,
Othello. Sweet,
you got it.
Sweet, I was correct.
Gold star.
I don't have to quit my major. But and this weird mashup land of Othello and Romeo and Juliet, and her like bouncing through the plot, and her presence in this area, in this place, messes up the plot, and she's trying to like put everything back, but she's just messing everything up. Oh. So there's a weird meta commentary, I guess, on Othello and Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet. As plays. And then the third one we watched was of Bard on the Beach, that was also doing a Romeo and Juliet thing. And I really enjoyed the Bard on the Beach one. It was the first time I've ever been to a Bard on the Beach.
Which, if they don't know,
but
it's a Vancouver play performances of various Shakespeare.
Yeah, over the summer. Yeah. They do a bunch of shows. I think usually it's like 3 or 4 shows on repeat. Or maybe 5. And sometimes they play them straight, like it's a sort of normal, like, dressed like Shakespeare times. Yeah. Sometimes they mix it up. Sometimes they modern it up completely. Sometimes they do like a weird mix, like the Romeo and Juliet I watched. It was a weird mix of sort of like Romeo plus Juliet is a weird mix
of modern
and in period stuff. But I really enjoyed it. It was a really neat depiction. It was the most invested in a Romeo and Juliet I've ever been. Okay. I was. Because, usually it's like in a movie, it's sort of distance, and it's also sort of with the Shakespearean language, or even if they translate it, it's still sort of distant. And if it's on, like if you're reading the pages out of a book, it's also a bit distant.
Very distant.
But in this one, seeing like actual people hopping around, doing the stuff, I guess helped me to connect to them a lot more.
Oh yeah.
But I was also. But while I did enjoy it, I was sort of disappointed that I don't think they really... let me just say, my favorite reading of Romeo and Juliet, my favorite interpretation of it, is that they're just a bunch of stupid teenagers.
Oh, yeah.
And like that's an interpretation that a lot of people miss when they learn about Romeo and Juliet in high school, because it's old, because it's written by a famous Shakespeare author person, and because it's in this older language, you don't, as a high school kid, see the jokes, really. And since a lot of the jokes are like dirty jokes, the teachers don't usually
tell you
that. They don't really underscore that. They don't really point those out. So it's not as fun as it could be. And all of this stuff contributes to Romeo and Juliet feeling like a serious, stodgy, like romantic text. But the reading I prefer is that it's these 2 teenagers who are causing untold deaths. Maybe not untold, you can probably count, but like a bunch of deaths on both sides of their families because they're stupid and terrible at things, and teenagers.
Yeah.
And like that's the reading, that's the interpretation I prefer of this. But that's not the one they usually use, and I don't think that's the one they used in Bard on the Beach that time, so I was a bit disappointed. Although it was really, really nice, and I really liked it as my first experience of Bard on the Beach. For the listeners who might not know, it's an open air thing.
Right.
More or less. There's like a cover, like roof part, but it's an outdoor thing.
Yeah.
And the back of the stage is an open window.
Right.
You can see the bay. You can see
Falls Creek, I think.
Falls Creek, I believe. Sure. I was going to say I believe that's true, but I don't know what it's called. But you can see some water. You can see some water. You can see some beach through this rather large window in the back. This opening in the back, and since it's public space, there'll be like boats and people walking their dogs and stuff.
Right.
And I overheard one of the other people in the audience sitting beside me mentioning as we were all leaving that they liked how whenever there was a scene in like a fancy rich palace, there was always just like a yacht in the background, just coincidentally.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, there was always like a yacht or like a speedboat going by at a perfect time. But also with the window and it being outdoors, because Romeo and Juliet is a story that's has a trajectory of it starting pretty nice and it ending really dark.
Yeah.
I liked how I guess based on the timing of like the time of day it was performed, as the story got darker, the like surrounding got darker as well, which was a really neat parallel between the real world and the fictional world of the stage.
Oh yeah. Well, that's neat. Yeah, well...
What have I been doing? Thank you.
That's all I've been up to. I was going to say something more about Romeo plus Juliet. Well, I also had that thought while watching it about how I wouldn't call them stupid teens, but like silly teens or like silly young people. Because I mean, one explicit part of that my high school teacher pointed out to me is that it opens up with it starts rather with Romeo being obsessed with, I think it's Rosaline, if I'm not mistaken. And he's talking about how he can't get over her, and then he sees Juliet, he's just in love with Juliet. Like if it's pretty clear to me that's like, these are silly young people. It's just like what you're saying. I think it's hard to not interpret the text like that. But I also agree that it's hard to interpret that in high school, and that might partially be because we were teenagers. Like, reading about other teenagers and how they feel. Yeah,
like, I could see if it's not framed the right way by whoever's teaching it or instructing it or whatever, that some kid, like, I would, just like skim over that, and just, I wouldn't trust the author enough, because I am not familiar with the author, to immediately understand that as intentional.
Right.
I would just like, chalk it up as like poor characterization or something. Yeah. If I wasn't, better informed.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely part of it. It's like a really new thing to think that someone like Shakespeare or Chaucer or Thomas Middleton can be really funny and sarcastic because they're so revered as authors. And that's an important part of English too, is realizing that these aren't just, like, these authors can be funny and can be quirky and can be a lot of things.
Yeah, because like if you don't see it as intentional, I'm so in love with Rosaline, now I'm so in love with Juliet. If you don't see that as intentional, that's just, I guess he was lying? Okay, whatever. It's...
like, Shakespeare didn't think too much about that.
Yeah. Why'd they introduce her and then introduce Juliet? What's the fun of that? But if, when you know that it's intentional, it's, it's a show that it's very fleeting, or whatever, it's very in the moment, or whatever.
Yeah.
And also, like, if you're reading this as homework and you don't, like, care about it, you sort of miss that, like, how condensed the time frame is, like, they meet on Tuesday, they get married on Wednesday, they die on Thursday, basically.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right.
It's like less than a week of time, and everyone dies.
It's less than half a week.
Yeah, I might be condensing it further, but like, I haven't read it in a while.
It occurs in 1 hour, literally.
The plays are all in real time. It's like the show 24. That's where that show 24 got their idea from.
Oh, Shakespeare.
24 is actually a Shakespearean adaptation.
He was so funny. Okay, well, tell me what's new with you.
I've watched a bunch of movies in theaters.
Oh, yeah?
Which is surprising.
Oh, okay.
I've watched... what did I watch? I watched Wonder Woman.
Oh, yeah.
I watched the new Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh.
I think it's Dead Men Tell No Tales. Is that the fifth one? Whatever the new fifth one is.
Yeah, the next one? I don't know.
And the new Spider-Man. So
nice.
Listeners at home can probably very easily timestamp when this was recorded. But yeah, no, I watched those three movies.
Well, wait. So you said Pirates of the Caribbean and Spider-Man. What was the other one?
Wonder Woman.
If it were just the first two, they could timestamp this for like a number of years. But sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, they were all really good.
Nice.
Pirates of the Caribbean, it didn't change the way I think of movies or anything. It didn't reshape. It didn't, open my eyes to anything. But it was, what I was looking for in a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. It was Johnny Depp acting weird.
Yeah.
It was some kind of weird supernatural sea threat. In this case, some Spanish. I don't know the naval, but and they weren't pirates.
Oh, really?
The bad guys aren't pirates. They were specifically not privateers. I don't know what.
I don't know.
They are, but they were anti-pirate.
Oh.
In their goals. Right. Whereas in the past, it's always been like, it's some skeleton pirates. It's some squid pirates.
Right.
It's
regular pirates.
Regular pirates. Sure,
lady pirates. Oh.
Yeah. In this one, it was some dead naval officers. And yeah, no, it's
zombie pirates.
Zombie
that was
pirates.
Honestly one of them.
No, there was. Which one was that one? Because the first one, it was the skeleton pirates. Because when they went into moonlight, they became skeletons.
Right. Yeah. I've only seen that one and then the second previous one, in which I think zombies are just accepted. Mm-hmm. Like, yep, those are the zombie pirates. So those must have happened in a one before that.
I guess. Then there was Davy Jones with his like half fish people.
Right. Yeah.
So it had all three things that I was looking for in a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. It had Johnny Depp acting weird.
Yeah.
It had a weird, overly elaborate fight scene.
Oh.
Because they always have one of those, like, I forget which one it was, but there was one where they were, like, fighting on a water wheel that was, like, rolling around.
Oh.
Are you familiar with?
Not really.
Oh, man, you are missing out on some nonsense.
I just have a lot of nonsense in my life already.
But it had Johnny Depp acting weird. It had a weird fight scene, and it had weird hair.
Oh,
because all of them, they just had weird CG hair.
That's a weird checklist for you.
And no, because they keep like upping the ante with each of the movies with their hair effects.
Really?
Because in the first one, it was just it's normal hair, but in the moonlight, it disappears and it's a skull.
Oh yeah.
And then in the Davy Jones one, it's hair, but it's a squid thing.
Right, the beard, right?
The beard, with the octopus tentacles or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think other hair as well, probably, on the other people. And then there was the mermaids, where they were like, oh, it's hair in water. Oh. And now with this one, it's, I guess, the same thing, but it's hair in water, but it's out of the water.
Wow, so these are really formulaic, hey?
I am reducing a lot of it, but not that much.
Okay.
But no, those are the three things that they tend to deliver pretty well on. Yeah. Johnny Depp acting weird, overly choreographed, not overly choreographed, but like a very complex fight scene. Yeah. Very visually complex.
Oh, okay.
Sure. Fight scene.
Yeah.
In like a weird place.
Yeah.
And then weird CG hair. It delivered everything I wanted for it. I don't know if I wouldn't say it's the best Pirates of the Caribbean movie, but it was certainly a Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Nice. Well, it's cool. I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah.
We should probably talk about our topic for this week.
Yes.
Which is
the album Mouth Sounds by Neil Cicierega.
Thank you for saying it. Yes.
I've heard the album many times in the past, but Joel, this is your first time hearing about it and hearing it.
Yeah.
And also, you have, like I said before, before we were recording, you have like 12 stringed instruments in this room right now. So
yeah, we're surrounded by strings.
You were the music man. So what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, because when I was listening to this, all I could think about were the pop culture references, which it's hard not to. Like, this isn't a standard album. It's Plunderphonics, so it's taking. Have you heard the term Plunderphonics?
I have not.
Okay, I believe it's taken from the album Plunderphonics, which is by Plunderphonics by John Oswald. It was an album from, I want to say the 80s, where he mixed Michael Jackson songs into new pieces. Like, there's one where he mixes up Bad, and it's called Dab. And it's fantastic. Plunderphonics, I think the idea is it's plundering, it's taking from something. And this was completely new at the time when, like, these sort of electronics that allow us to sample music were just starting to come out. So John Oswald was sued, I believe, by Michael Jackson's record company and had to destroy all the copies of his album. But you can find it on YouTube now, and it's fantastic. It's really interesting to listen to. So yeah, Mouth Sounds is, it could be called the same genre, Plunderphonics. I'm not sure if the author would call it that, but the nature of the genre itself really makes you think makes me think about the media that's going into it and what they're trying to say with the media. And this one is so clearly a joke that I'm surprised that I took it so seriously the first time I listened to it. Like, I put on my music student hat and just like took very detailed notes and listened very closely. At the same time, I think it merits that kind of listening. Even if it's made with a humorous intent, it's still a piece of art that needs to be appreciated as such. Yeah. And one, I was thinking about that as I was looking at comments about it. Like, one comment that was on a YouTube version of it was, give me one sec.
Listeners at home, Joel has over 2 pages of printed out notes about mouth sounds.
That's right.
There's highlighting. There's notes in the margins as well.
Which is why I can't find my specifics. One sec. Well, so in a YouTube version of this, one of the comments was something akin to, like, this is freaking art, saying it in a irreverent kind of way, like this album is art. And that, to me, summed up the interesting part about this album, because it is art, but it's funny to be irreverent about it and to call it something more than it is when it's mixing in Smash Mouth primarily with all of these cheesy songs from around the 2000s.
But like, that's the thing that sort of lowers it, right? Like, conceptual in terms of the pieces that are assembled to make up this album, Mouth Sounds.
Yeah.
The Smash Mouth songs are, I would say, are the ones that are held in the lowest regard.
Yeah.
You know, they're the ones that are, in isolation, laughed at the most.
Yeah.
You know, they're scoffed at the most. What other, like, it has, other songs.
Santana.
Yeah, Santana. It has, Imagine.
Yeah, Men in Black.
Men in Black, the Will Smith song from the movie Men in Black.
There was Smashing Pumpkins.
Daft Punk, I believe. Enya, you know, Orinoco Flow.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But of them, you know, Smash Mouth is usually the one that is the most, you know, scoffed at. It's like, Smash Mouth, you know, like.
Yeah.
But it's the one that is in almost, if not all of them, of the songs.
I think almost all of them. I think not in every one.
Yeah, I think there's one where it's the one called No Credit Card.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's I think he just remixes Power of Love into itself.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so catchy.
And, like, a lot of these songs I hadn't heard prior to Mouth Sounds.
Oh, yeah?
So the very first time I heard it, it didn't really do anything for me. Because, okay, sure, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But over time, when I've heard more of these source songs and have gone back to Mouth Sounds, I have added more of those into my day-to-day playlist.
Oh, yeah?
You know, like, the one that involves Orinoco Flow. I think the song on the album, it's called Smooth Flow, I believe. Let me double check that, because that'd be a weird name to guess if I was wrong. No. It's called Smooth Flow.
Nice.
And I think the first time I listened to it, I was like, I don't care. What is this? I don't care.
Yeah.
But then, since then, I have heard Orinoco Flow by Enya, by itself, and how it's sort of catchy. You know, it's not, I'm not going to win any coolness points by saying that, but it's sort of catchy, right?
Yeah.
And so now being familiar with that and hearing the Mouth Sounds version of it again, I have more, now that I know what it is supposed to sound like originally, I have a better appreciation for what it sounds like when it's been mixed up.
Yeah, and you're touching on an interesting point. It seems like this album is made for people who know these songs and for people who I want to say know them as a bit of a joke. Like, I would wager that no one listens to All-Star seriously anymore. It feels like it's at that point of it's just like a joke. Or like Sir Mix-a-Lot is in this too, and it's like a song that's brought up so much that the joke of bringing it up isn't funny anymore.
I will say with All-Star, I have like the vanilla version of All-Star also in my day-to-day playlist, and when it starts and it gets to the point where I realize that it is just All-Star, I get sort of disappointed because
really?
oh man, which Mouth Sound song is this? Like, oh, none of them. And I'm sort of disappointed in that now.
Yeah. Well, like, is this album designed for specific people? Like, specifically maybe people of our age who were born in, like, early 90s or, like, late 80s?
Yeah, like, I feel, like you were saying, I think we were both saying, a familiarity with these songs adds a lot to appreciating these songs, understanding these songs. I think it's targeted at people who, like, have a sense of humor about stuff like this. Yeah. You know, because, like, I can imagine, like, a hypothetical, stodgy, you know, stuffy old man who's like, oh, what is this? What is this noise? It's even more noisy than normal music these days. You know, what's wrong? You know, kind of shaking his cane kind of thing. But it does also require, like, a lot of the songs it uses are sort of varied. You know, like, if you know it, you know it. But if you don't really having heard one of the songs that Cicierega uses in this album does not mean automatically that you know the other songs he uses.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I actually know that Enya one, so that one might have actually gone over my head.
No, it is like... I don't know how I would describe it, but it is when like, if you hear it, you'll be like, oh, that's the song. I've heard that song before. Like, a lot of these songs are that kind of thing.
I was going to say all of them, but then you hadn't recognized some of them, right? For me, I feel like I had the impression that I recognized all of them. I don't remember Enya, but maybe I did when I heard it. Well, that's something that it does is it makes these songs that we've heard and that we're familiar with into, one, a joke, maybe, but two, something that's new. So it makes them exciting again. And I wonder if what Cicierega is... Oh,
I could still be saying it wrong.
I wonder if he's trying to comment on... See, I feel like I'm taking it too seriously because it's such a funny album, but you have to.
Yeah.
If he's trying to comment on how these songs become old and stale and how they were at one point something new, like he's making them. He's making them new and interesting again, and it's like hearing them for the first time. Like you said, it's exciting, but hearing the original Smash Mouth song, it's just a joke.
Well, no, like it is now, but like back in the day, I imagine it was really, really big for it to have grabbed on. Like, it's still around. More or less, as a joke, yes, but it's still around. Yeah, you know, so it had to have hit a certain level of market penetration, a certain level of acceptance, a certain level of it just being ubiquitous with music of that time. Yeah, you know, it is such a 90s. It came out in the 90s, right?
No, I think it was 2000
or like early 2000s. Well, that's still sort of 90s, you know?
No, 2000s or 2000s.
But you know what I mean. Like, the first half of the 90s is basically the 80s, you know? Like,
well, yes and no.
No, trust me. I like, the first half...
Trust you?
The first half of the 90s is still, like, bright colors and, like...
Stylistically?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
The second half of the 90s is, like, grunge and, like... radical and extreme things, you know?
All-Star was released May 4th, 1999.
Haha! Yes!
Wow. I did not know that. You were right. I have to eat my hat.
But what are we talking about?
Well,
it being Smash Mouth being popular, legitimately popular at some point.
Right.
You know, it's not popular now.
Yeah.
You know, there are a bunch of jokes all over the internet about Smash Mouth and about All-Star, probably helped along by this album. But it was legitimately successful at some point.
Yeah, and that's an important thing because I look at it now as being such a culturally devoid song. I'm going to be super hard on Smash Mouth. But
that's the thing, though. Like, everyone's hard on Smash Mouth. It's a stupid song. It's a goofy, stupid song. It's from the 90s, this and that.
Well,
but with mouse sounds, Neil Cicierega sort of, I'm just going to keep trying to say his name.
Yeah, I think you got it. But we'll find out.
But also, it's a thing I've noticed in other podcasts where they talk about something for a lot, but they don't say the name of it. So if you're sort of like not paying attention, that's the thing I want us to avoid so that we say the name relatively often.
There's a little meta talk about the podcast that I can cut out.
Yeah, or we could leave it in. I guess it depends on how it sounds.
Okay. But I'll make it
it's Smash Mouth and All-Star in particular are always scoffed at for being super goofy. It's super stupid, it's this and that.
Yeah.
But what the guy's sort of doing with this album, Mouth Sounds, he's sort of positioning it as like the Rosetta Stone of music.
Yeah.
You know, like all music fits into All-Star, and All-Star fits into all music.
Yes. And is that a comment on pop culture? Because it's such a culturally devoid song in my mind. Like, it has phrasing of a rap tune, but it's not really a hip-hop genre. And it has chords that are so cliche that they can fit, and melodies that are so cliche they can fit into almost any pop song, which is what Cicierega is proving in this album. It's all so simple, and is the music and the media that we enjoy now, is it similarly as devoid as these songs are? That's what this album made me think about. Because I feel like I've in over my head now.
Well, I think a lot of things are popular in a time.
Yeah.
You know, and once it's removed from that time, it's just as goofy as anything else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
like,
which is what he's showing.
Yeah, like, with the time and the gap of time we've had since Smash Mouth has come out with All-Star, and also with Mouse Sounds, which came out in 2014, there's the distance to laugh at it. You know? But in the moment, like I was saying before, with All-Star, it was the most, maybe not the most, but a very, very popular song.
Yeah.
You know, but now it's insane. It's absurd. It's a goofy song. Similar with, what's that song with, Total Eclipse of the Heart?
Oh, yeah.
Right. In the moment, I imagine, it was a very, very popular song. It hit the charts, you know, people were listening to it legitimately, you know. But now I can't think of that song without hearing the literal music video version. Are you familiar with this?
No.
Oh man, we are watching. Are you familiar with the original song, Total Eclipse of the Heart?
Yeah.
Okay. We will. Okay.
Wow.
I'm sorry, you were saying something?
Oh, I've never seen this video. It's really off the chain. Wow. Holy smokes.
Yeah, so that was the literal video version of Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Thank you.
But yeah, with the listener at home, if you haven't done so, I recommend pausing right now and watching that video. We'll be here. Oh, hey, welcome back.
Welcome back.
But, with the video, you know, it's a super goofy video. But, you know, I imagine they were going for, like, you know, an artsy, metaphorical kind of dream sequence kind of thing.
Yeah.
And if we were watching it, if you were to watch just the normal video with the normal lyrics, you know, you'd think it was probably a bit weird, but sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? But, and especially in the time, you know, now with however many years since it's come out, it's going to be a bit even weirder, you know. But when you, like, divorce it even further from context by swapping the lyrics, changing the lyrics to these lyrics that make fun of what you're seeing.
Yeah.
You know, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's amazing how weird the video is once you start pointing things out. You know, once you're not in the moment of seeing it as this high, artsy, metaphorical thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what this album does.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I think what we were talking about with cultural importance, it must be anything that's accepted by culture has cultural importance. I would argue that. So like Total Eclipse of the Heart would have cultural importance. The video would have cultural importance because it's being accepted. And Smash Mouth's All-Star did at one point, even if it doesn't now. One of the other thing that this song, or this album, Mouth Sounds, does is that it uses some advertisement quotes. I don't know if you noticed that. About halfway through, there were a bunch of TV ads.
With like the trailer sounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't quite care. I didn't quite care for that. But that was of the ones I like that one the least because that's the one where it's what's the other song that it mixes in?
I don't remember.
The song, I think it's number 7, Alanis.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's an Alanis Morissette song. I forget what it's called right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But and it just repeats this like sort of abrasive, rather high sound she keeps making, and like does it on repeat, and then it stops, and then transitions to just a bunch of like the jingles, I guess, for production companies.
Yeah,
I believe. Like for example, at the end of The Simpsons, there's the Grace Films or whatever, and there's like a yeah, exactly.
The fact that I know that, and
a bunch of other ones. And I think what I didn't like was how disconnected each of those were, because it plays one, and then it stops and plays another one, and that stops and plays another one. It didn't feel as fluid as some of the other ones do.
Okay.
Because even when a lot of the other ones are mixing a bunch of different things together, they are mixed.
Right.
Whereas in this one, it's just a series of random-ish things, and I didn't quite care for that.
Right. Well, how are they connected? Like, what would he be trying to do by using all those sounds together? What do you think?
Maybe something to do with, because earlier in that song there is also a bunch of repetition of that sound. Mm-hmm. I can't describe it other than that sound that happens in that song.
The Alanis Morissette sound.
Yeah, that like isolated sound. And I didn't look them all up, or any of them up actually. But the trailer sounds in the second half of that song, I feel I would imagine they're all from a category of things, like a production logo sound effect. Yeah. And those all always play at the beginning or the end of whatever work they're producing. So maybe it's something to do with repetition of that. But I don't know. I didn't like it enough to too deeply into that one.
Well, when I heard it, I thought that it's being put on the same level as all these other pop songs. And I recognized all of them except for, I think, one, which I think says something about the way that I consumed media as a kid, because a lot of these came out when I was a kid.
Like you didn't recognize one of the songs or one of the
sounds, like
of the jingles?
Yeah. Yeah, and it made me think, are these songs that are culturally void, which is something I've accepted. I recognize them all, and they've been playing in the background of my life for years. Like, it's drawing attention to the things that are in my brain that are in the background, that are constantly there. Just little jingles and stuff like that. And funny enough, when I had this thought, I was getting tired, and I started typing in Facebook into my computer, and I was like, wait, that's my new cultural wasteland. That's where I go when I just turn off my brain. Just in the same way as like when I'd watch TV as a kid and absorb all this media and absorb these advertisements and stuff that are just in my brain now.
I like you keep saying that these are all like I forget exactly what but like
culturally devoid.
Culturally devoid, yes.
It's not nice.
That like I feel like that's like you're missing out if you just categorize everything as bottom shelf entertainment, like if I guess going back to our discussion about Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Let's say let's tie that back around. If you assume Romeo and Juliet is just a bunch of mistakes in a row, you're not gonna like it as much. You're not gonna appreciate it. But if you assume that everything is intentional, then that allows for a greater appreciation. Maybe there are some things that are mistakes and that are not intentional. There are some. I'm not gonna say that everything that everyone calls. I'm not going to say that everything someone calls art is universally good and has this kind of depth, but a lot of these things do, and a lot of the things that are categorized as low or bottom shelf or whatever, I feel like there's an appreciation of them that is being missed out if they are categorized like that. For example, I listened to 3 podcasts about the Animorphs.
Right.
And we will have an episode about the Animorphs.
Hell yeah.
At some point. Because I've read all of them, and have you read any of them?
No, not yet, but you're so stoked on them that I feel like I should.
There are some great ones. There are also some terrible ones, but there are some good ones. There are 3 of them. The 3 podcasts that I listen to. And there being 3. There's one that's really good, there's one that's really bad, and there's one in the middle. And what I found the difference for me in what separates the one I really like and the one I really don't like is that the one I really don't like, they very frequently dismiss it as a kid's book. And sure, it is, but if you don't like it, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
It's just a stupid kid's book. Then talk about something else if you don't like the book, whereas the one I enjoy the most, which is also unfortunately the one that releases the least often. But when they do release, they talk about it as if they do a critical reading, a very English major thing. They talk about character development. They talk about motivation. They talk about plot structure. Whereas the one I don't like. Mostly they talk about this is stupid. Here's what I would do if I was writing it. And I'm like, okay, that's not helpful at all.
No.
But primarily it's that the one I don't like. They don't. I can't point at any particular examples off the top of my head, but there's a lot of them just this is probably a mistake or something, or and not allowing it to be an intentional decision.
Right.
Or even if it is a mistake, what does that say about the plot? Or what can be read into it if we take this mistake as intentional?
Yeah. Yeah. And I hear you saying, you're absolutely right. And that's why we can take an album like Mouth Sounds seriously as well. It's that it doesn't have to be the low shelf thing, like you said. And it even suggests that these songs can all still be interesting by remixing them and making them a new thing. Like they were when they first came out, just great songs that were really popular.
Yeah, and also I think the very first song on the album is a mix up of
Smash Mouth for sure.
Sure. And a classical thing, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's mixing up it's a classical. I forget what the title is. I think the name is escaping both of us at the moment.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a very intentional thing.
Absolutely.
Of combining this arrangement of classical notes. Is that a thing?
A classical piece, I guess.
Sure. This, classical song.
Yeah.
And mashing it up with this Smash Mouth song. And having that be their opening shot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's the best song, but it certainly tells you what the album is going to be about.
Yeah. Absolutely. You reminded me of something that I was going to bring up, but I forget what it was now. Well, then, yeah, I find this album confusing and interesting because it's funny and it's fun and it's really interesting to listen to, and it makes you think about how to appreciate these songs and how to appreciate these songs as in the source material, but also the Plunderphonics songs. Well, what do we do with them? And it's just fascinating.
Did I ask you this already? Can you put into words why it's funny?
Well,
are you able to pin that down in verbal ways?
When I looked it up, I found a note from Lemon Demon, which is Neil Cicierega.
You can just call him Neil. I think I think with all the talking we've done about his album, we're on a first name basis with him now.
Right. Well, Neil's other name is Lemon Demon, where he produces music as Lemon Demon. And he calls Mouth Sounds horrible mashups completely free. And given that and given all the comments about it, and given my background with knowing about Smash Mouth, like, or like Shrek.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. You have like actual like music experience. This album must have been hell for you.
It wasn't though. It's a fantastic album. Like, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. I feel like almost at a loss of words for this because it's hard to piece it all together. But and I'm also trying to figure out why it's funny. And I think there's something about Shrek and something about All-Star it's made fun of by other podcasters, the McElroy brothers, made fun of in memes, made fun of by Tim and Eric. It seems like it's accepted to be funny in my mind. I don't know if that's just prejudice or not. I like that you're challenging that in me. I think that the joke that I was picking up in Mouth Sounds is that it seems to be something that like Tim and Eric and people like that do. It's taking the simple parts of pop culture and enjoying them to the extreme. Like when Tim and Eric, they did this thing years ago where they went to Shrek openings and like dressed up as Shrek and got really excited about it, but they weren't actually being paid to do it. That was part of the joke. So I think there's something funny about being excited about these pop songs and just can't put it together.
I feel some of the humor, like I find it funny as well, but I think some of the humor, at least for me, is being forced to imagine these things in this new context.
Oh yeah.
You know, like hearing I discovered this album myself. The first one I found was the one that samples from Imagine, the one called Imagine All-Star People.
Right.
And I found it just in isolation, just like the song by itself on Tumblr.
Oh.
I was scrolling through Tumblr and I see this song and I play it and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Because of how it was, I wasn't expecting anything. I had never heard of this before.
Oh yeah.
I didn't have the lead up of the tracks before it or the, I guess, conclusion of the tracks after it. It was just Imagine All-Star People by itself. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing. And then afterwards, I think it wasn't until like a week or a couple of weeks later that I tried to find more of it and then discovered that it was part of a larger album.
Right.
But no, it was surprising because you recognize the melodies of Imagine and then you imagine the lyric, you recognize the lyrics of Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
And it being put into this other context, this unexpected context, is what made me laugh and made it a fun thing to just discover at random. And I think it's this like unexpected, because that's where humor, largely, a lot of humor comes from, the unexpected, the setup and replace.
Yeah.
Of humor,
the humor comes from the setup and replace of humor.
Well, that sentence got away from me, but like, no, a lot of humor, a lot of jokes, derive their humor from the subversion of expectation.
Right.
You expect something, and then they give you something else.
Yeah.
And I think that's where some of the humor in Mouth Sounds come. Certainly not all of it, but because like I said, if you recognize a song, you recognize the song. There's no maybe. Well, I guess the classical song. I guess I sort of undercut my point right there. But like it's familiar. I've heard it before. I don't know the title of it, but I know that I've heard it before.
Yeah.
Same with a lot of the others bits and pieces that are assembled into the album with. Having listened to sounds for however long I've been alive, and I recognize those. I'm like, oh, I know I've heard that before, but not in this way, And I think that the new shape it's being forged into is what makes it, the unexpected shape that it's being forged into is what makes it funny and entertaining and fun.
Yeah.
If it was just an album of, Billie Jean and Imagine and then Orinoco Flow by Enya, just like
together
as a playlist.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, and that's not nearly as clever. There's no joke in that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you're touching on part of what I found so great about the first, in my mind, the first Plunderphonics album called Plunderphonics by John Oswald. It was a similar thing. It was like it sounds like something I've heard before. Michael Jackson's bad, but it's subverted and confusing and weird, and I don't know what to do with it. So it's just a roller coaster. It's fun. Final thoughts? I think you just had some pretty good final thoughts.
Yeah. So before we were recording, you mentioned you were doing some research on the album, on Neil Cicierega himself. Did you look at his other mouth sound albums?
I found them, but I didn't listen to them because it's part of a trilogy, right?
Yeah, I think he calls it a trilogy.
Yeah.
But man, are you going to listen to them?
Yeah. Of course.
You are in for a ride.
Nice.
In how like with this first one, he sort of positions Smash Mouth as the like I said, the Rosetta Stone of music, and with the I didn't coin that phrase. I think I cribbed it from someone else who might have cribbed it from a third person, but I like it. It works. It's the Rosetta Stone of music, but. I haven't done this, but apparently if you listen to them in close proximity, maybe not necessarily exactly after each other.
Yeah.
But the later ones sort of reference back to mouth sounds.
Oh, really?
Sort of as a callback or an in-joke.
Oh, yeah?
And what he does with Smash Mouth's All-Star, he sort of does that with other songs.
Oh.
And sort of if the argument of mouth sounds is that I'm just going to keep saying this. All-Star is the Rosetta Stone of music. With the argument of the third one, which is mouth moods, and in between the two is mouth silence. The argument of the third one is perhaps that all songs can be the Rosetta Stone of every other song.
That's a big chunk. That's a big bite. That's a lot to think about.
But yeah, no, I enjoy the albums. I'm surprised at how legitimately good some of these weird things are.
Yeah.
Because they're all weird experiments in sound.
Yeah.
But some of them, a good chunk of them, especially in this first one, I still think the first one is the strongest one.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm not as familiar with the other songs in the other ones, but I feel the first one is the purest of whatever he's trying to do. But how legitimately good some of these weird things are, like the one with Imagine All-Star People is the first one, so that holds a special place in my heart. The one with Billie Jean, Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, is also one that I've recently developed an appreciation for. It's track 5, Billie Jean, Bills Like Jean Spirit.
So say that again?
Bills Like Jean Spirit. I think it's the mashup of Billie Jean and
Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah. So yeah, no, and they could, if they weren't so weird, be legitimate songs.
Yeah.
And by legitimate, I mean, removed from this context and people wouldn't laugh at it.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately, people can't not laugh at this, especially without the context. But yeah, no, it's weird what he was able to accomplish. Yeah, I would say.
Oh, okay.
How about yourself?
I think after talking with you about it, I'm really glad that Neil didn't just flat out say what he thinks about this album within the album. Maybe he did somewhere. I'm sure he must have. And he must have his own opinions about it, because every artist has their own opinion about their art. But because we were able to look at it in this way, we're able to take it seriously and talk about it and not just write it off, which is what you were getting at with writing off songs just because they're pop or just because they're popular, right? We're not given any way to listen to this. We're just given an album. So I'm glad that it happened. I think it's hard for me to draw a grand conclusion about this. about this album other than I'm glad that it exists. And it's so much fun, and I'm going to keep listening to it and keep laughing with it and listen to the other ones. And we suggest that you do too.
Yeah, I guess this is, how do we end this?
Last week we had no idea how to end it.
Thank you, listener, for joining us in whatever this was. This amazing discussion by two brilliant people about this piece of legitimate art, this album Mouth Sounds by Niels Cicierega. If you want to get in contact with us, you can reach us through email at alldoubtpod@gmail.com, let's say, on Twitter at alldoubtpod, and on our website, AllDoubtPod.com. I hope we were able to get all of those, and that I didn't just redirect you to some weird other site. I don't know. Send us your questions. If you have questions, how can you not have questions?
How can you not?
After this amazing episode.
We'll talk to you next week.